A long time ago, there was a student named Pedro. Pedro had been learning English for a few months. At first, he was very excited. He loved learning new words and phrases. But as time went by, Pedro started to lose motivation. He thought English was difficult and tiring. I will never really learn English, he thought. Pedro started to study less and less. He felt like he wasn't making any progress. Pedro stopped doing exercises and practicing speaking. He began skipping English classes. One day in class, the teacher noticed that Pedro was unmotivated. She asked, "Pedro, why aren't you participating in the activities?" Pedro looked down and said, "I don't think English is for me." The teacher smiled and said, "We all go through this. When we're learning something new, sometimes it feels impossible." Pedro nodded. "I feel like I'm not improving," he said. The teacher continued, "The key to learning English is motivation. You need to find something that inspires you to keep going." Pedro stayed silent, thinking. "But what can motivate me?" he asked. The teacher smiled again. "You like music, don't you?" Pedro nodded. "Yes, I love music." "Then why not learn English with the music you love?" suggested the teacher. Pedro looked curious. "You can choose a song, translate the lyrics, and sing along. That way you learn and have fun at the same time." Pedro smiled for the first time that day. "That sounds interesting," he said. "Another thing that can motivate you," the teacher continued, "is thinking about your goals. Why do you want to learn English?" Pedro thought for a moment. "I want to travel someday," he said. The teacher said, "Imagine yourself traveling and talking to people from different countries. That could motivate you to keep studying." Pedro started to feel more inspired. He went home with a new idea. That night, he chose his favorite song. He translated the lyrics and sang along. He had fun and learned new words. The next day, Pedro went to class feeling more excited. He told the teacher what he had done. She smiled and said, "I'm proud of you." Pedro realized that the motivation was inside him all along. He just needed to find something that made him want to keep going. He decided never to give up again. Now, Pedro studies English every day. He knows that with patience and motivation, he will reach his goals. And whenever he feels unmotivated, he remembers his goals. Pedro knows that learning English will open many doors for him. He wants to travel and see the world. He dreams of visiting London and New York. Pedro also wants to speak English at work. He imagines that one day he will have a meeting in English. This motivates him even more to study. He started watching movies in English with subtitles. Pedro noticed that this helped improve his understanding. He laughed at the jokes and learned new expressions. Pedro also began listening to English music every day. He practiced his pronunciation by singing along with his favorite songs. One day, Pedro decided to practice speaking. He started talking to his classmates in English. At first, he was nervous. He was afraid of making mistakes. But over time, Pedro became more confident. He realized that the most important thing was to communicate. Even if he made mistakes, he was learning. Pedro understood that every mistake was an opportunity to improve. He began writing short sentences in English every day. These small actions helped Pedro stay motivated. He saw that studying English could be fun. Now, Pedro shares his favorite songs and movies with his classmates. He even helps other students who feel unmotivated. Pedro understood that the learning journey is full of ups and downs. He learned that the key is to keep going, even when it feels hard. Pedro turned his lack of motivation into strength to continue. He knows that one day he will speak English fluently. This is a story for everyone. When we feel unmotivated, we need to remember our goal. Motivation is the key to success. Just like Pedro, you can find what inspires you.